We got some brand new monthlies to be announced, sizing, and today's video will be looking at the big four, that being Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Bitcoin, because those are the ones that are moving in the most violent order. And before we get into that, I should once again let you know that you have 1 day left for the Black Friday sale with the code BLACK in all capitals. Again, that's BLACK is the coupon code in all capitals for 20% off of any one of the programs or services in the link in the description below for Teachable. And actually, not only that, but the Quant Prime service is going to be 25% off for the lifetime of the subscription, which is the biggest discount for the longest period. I mean, for the lifetime of the of these subscriptions, so it's the longest one as well. Anyways, let's just jump right into it right now. Hopefully, we can make this one a little bit on the shorter side. We'll start off with Ethereum because Ethereum it is the one that's actually moving right now, or at least it's the most interesting in the short term right now. I guess XRP and Ethereum actually, and this is coming after a mostly laggard session for Ethereum. Ethereum has been kind of playing catch up here, but it's looking like it's getting its time in the sun now as well. Anyways, first things first with Ethereum, the monthly pivot actually was fulfilled as of last night's closure into December 1st. And now the momentum pivot, more importantly, has moved down. If you recall from last month, the momentum pivot was about 36.50, I believe. And now it has moved down to 34.35. That is typically a very, very good sign when the momentum pivot turns down alongside an actual cross, in this case to the upside direction. So that supports that this thing is very likely joining the crypto party and getting ready for its own major move, similar to what we've seen across the other majors. If we go across all of the higher term timeframes, by the way, should be known that the 2-week timeframe also positioned to the upside in terms of stochastic momentum. The pivot there is 24.50, so maybe a little bit less likely to fail in this next one. The weekly time frame also showing upside above 2,700. The 5-day time frame also showing upside above 34.20, and the daily time frame also up as well, as long as daily closures above about 3,500. So in the short term, this thing actually does have a chance to continue from here. But I would like to talk about potential corrective targets. I suppose in the maybe not so distant future, before again trying for higher. Again, the higher term time frame look, this thing very likely moving upwards and onwards, very likely moving towards the prior all-time highs, and from there probably going to make some new highs, and we'll discuss some areas of interest for that. But for right now, I do see that even on daily volatility, we're actually not seeing extremes just yet. It is getting up there, definitely. It is at about 82 to 83 percentile, but when we see the BBWP get back above 90 percentile, we will have that double derp signal as far as extreme volatility twice very close in a row, which typically does mark off major highs. But that this can continue on a little bit more here on this current run. So I wouldn't say that this current run is necessarily done just yet. Could work its way up to 3,900. I mean, maybe even it just gets a shot at 4,000, knowing Ethereum, but that's likely where the next sort of corrective area does come in around. So somewhere around here, let's just call it maybe a little bit below $4,000. With that in mind, what would be areas of interest for a pullback? Again, assuming that, with the general view that long term, very likely does continue upwards and onwards. Well, I mean, the easy areas here would be both the monthly 5 exponential, this red moving average right here, which you can see is currently at 3,300. Doesn't necessarily have to come exactly down around there, but perhaps somewhere around there. And then the 5-day time frame, 5 exponential, which is actually it's going to work its way up to about 3,500 as well. So perhaps that is going to be a good area. Looking onwards and forwards here. Again, it doesn't need to come down exactly to there, but the general rule with this is that when assets are trending, especially in crypto, and you actually see this across many different markets, but when assets are trending, they like to reconnect with this moving average on those trending moves almost on every period. And even when they don't reconnect on every period, like see right here, price action is more or less sideways as far as the open and close does go. And then once it retests, or once it meets back up, then party begins once again. So while I do think that this one probably does have more upside from here, I would be cognizant that the next pullback likely does bring it back down around, I'd say, let's call it like 3,500, give or take $100 from that number. So it could be 36, could be 34. But, more likely to continue here first and then pull back, and then that's going to be the next major opportunity. Of course, on the higher term timeframes, we should be aware what would, one, constitute an actual break, and two, what would be the areas of interest upon an actual break as well. And for that, we can go over to this chart and we can look at our current, our current price action right here with the highs from March of this year, that being basically $4,000. And if Ethereum can close even a weekly time frame above that number, I would be looking for Ethereum to work its way, very likely towards 5,400. Do I think that things are going to stop there? Unlikely. I do think that move would ultimately find its way somewhere around the deep 6,000s, maybe even lower 7,000s. Of course, that's going to be one step at a time, and it will naturally take time upon actually confirming a break above. But the sort of long-term trajectory is that's what I'd be looking at for that. Anyways, yeah, so cool. That's Ethereum. Of course, should also come up with an area that if met would invalidate all of this and make me heavily bearish. And again, it's the same area as before. Right here, this green line, $3,000 below there. Something else going on. Even below like 3,300. I would express major concern. So let's actually make that 3,300 as like a big red flag warning that hey, something else going on. But until then, likely continues on with the rally here. Likely to get a big pullback from the $4,000 region, and then I imagine you probably get an explosive move to the upside. Also, speaking of explosive moves, XRP, which has joined the list because it has actually been a good actor here, is right around the same highs that we saw from the 2021 cycle, and actually the closing highs that we saw in 2017 as well. Now, just by the simple nature of this thing popping back up around this region, very, 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 very likely to get another pullback. We saw kind of a similar thing before on a lower time frame, the daily. This was back around, about 160 before we saw a correction from 160 to about 125. So a big percentage-wise correction right there. But in this case, I do expect that XRP, almost at Ethereum right there, but XRP it's literally in the process of doing the double derp signal right here, the double extremes on volatility. So maybe it has one more try to the upside. Maybe it actually does break. I mean, possible, I suppose. I do think it is less likely, though. I do think that you're going to get like a big wick to the upside here, something like this, and then it closes down, and then you get a correction again. Something like that would be my general disposition. Of course, I can be wrong on that, but whenever I see a double extreme read like this one is very likely going to put in right here alongside stochastic momentum, in a critical zone like this, and probably going to turn down when we do get that double extreme read. That is a really, really good signal for a major top. Not saying it's a cycle top, not saying it's going to reverse down into bear market lows and shit like that. No, but very likely a big pullback, setting up for a higher low, and then a trending move to the upside probably later on. But overall, XRP has acted, pretty well here. I mean, it's had a pretty fucking phenomenal move from basically 45 cents about 50 cents to $2. So not bad. But in the short term, it is getting a little bit tired at these regions. And then, of course, we go over here to the weekly time frame. We are seeing extremes on weekly BBWP. Again, it can stay up here for a while, just like the daily can. I mean, the daily is not even like fully extreme just yet anyways, but it is now something to very much be aware of, because well, that's likely to produce a nice pullback. Pullbacks could easily come back down to like 160-ish, 165. That's not really asking for too much, to be honest. However, when we do look at the weekly here, we do see that stochastic momentum is actually continuing on to the upside with plenty of room there. So perhaps it's going to be a short-term daily correction first, maybe not that big of a pullback, and then we see the weekly and monthly continue, because the monthly has done something that it has not done since 2017, or perhaps better said, it has actually broken something very very important that it has been living with since 2017, and that is this. On the monthly stochastic oscillator, we have seen this regression essentially governing all of the macro cycle highs since, again, the 2017 highs. So The new information, I suppose, is that as of last night, we see December opening up very obviously above this regression, which does imply that this is now broken, which means that if this is broken, then something completely new is going on. And if what was going on before was one massive major consolidation right here, then, well, by deduction, it must be a breakout, again, alongside expanding volatility on the monthly. So on the monthly, again, we could very easily see corrections down to like 150 even, but ultimately this thing very likely does continue upwards and onwards here. If we do see a weekly closure above about $2, I suppose I would be looking for 275 or basically $3 first. It does seem a little bit crazy, but hey, that is, that actually isn't all that crazy right now. But longer term, and I think what probably most people are interested in is that when you do see this thing really close a higher term time frame above $2, $3 will come pretty fast, very likely. Maybe some short-term stops around the, along the way, but from there, I'd be looking at 4.5 or I guess 4.65, and then you got about 5.25 are going to be the big ones to the upside. So, this thing can move, as anyone who's traded XRP knows. But again, first things first, the real question here is, does this one get a pullback first or not? And I am still inclined to say that it probably does get a pullback first, but I can very much be wrong on that. Again, pullbacks would just be a higher low, but if it pulled back to like 150 or 160, that would be fine. That would be, actually, let's see, that would be a 20% correction, and then, set it up for a bigger move to the upside. That's what I would like to see happen. But of course, my opinion is not necessary on that. Just be aware of the big numbers. Of course, I should also outline invalidations for XRP as well. Like, what if met would indicate that this thing is fucking wrecked. Back down below about 1.25, big problems. Until then, probably fun. Moving on to Solana. Solana is now the least interesting of the big four because it has not been moving this much in the past week, which, to be fair, it was a first mover. It did retest its prior all-time highs before XRP and Ethereum. So we are seeing rotations in this market. It seems to be that Bitcoin moves first to new all-time highs. Solana moves second, and all the Solana ecosystem coins. Then you got, I guess, XRP and then Ethereum, because XRP did move a little bit above Ethereum as well. Anyways, looking at Solana right here, again, you're hitting a prior all-time high, very likely to have a correction around this region. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. Kind of the same shit as what we said last week. We have still not seen it break officially below about 230 on a daily closing basis. So this is still a nice, healthy consolidation here. And well, I would expect this one to continue a bit more sideways. Let's see, where are normal corrective targets coming in around? Let's see, the 5-day, probably another try somewhere down around about 228, 229-ish region. Just don't want to see closures below there. If you start to see closures below about 230, let's say, or let's actually call it about, let's actually call it last Tuesday's low. Be a little more safe with this one. Then I guess I would be looking for a deeper pullback down to about 205 region. I do want to get that out there just because that would be reasonable if that does happen, like 205 to 210 if that were to happen. But until then, this to me just looks like a reconnect with the red 5 exponential moving average on the weekly time frame, as did the 5-day time frame. Last period as well. So, this is actually good insight into kind of what I generally would be looking for on a correction for Ethereum or XRP. It's like, hang sideways for a little bit, drop a wick down somewhere around that 5 exponential, and then assuming that, you don't see any closures below there, very likely the upside party continues just after a nice sideways consolidation. So this can go on for a while longer. I don't know how long, but it can, obviously it can. Again, as long as things above, especially like 210, I don't have any major issues for the long term. 200. I don't really have any major issues for the long term. Monthly time frame, again, momentum remains to the upside right here. The pivot now is 214. So yeah, we can maybe move that up to about 214, 250, make it a nice round even number, or it's technically not an even number, but you know what I mean. And I mean, that's really all that I have to say about Solana. Again, as soon as this thing starts to actually close above its prior all-time highs on a weekly closing basis, about 260, start to see weekly closures above there, I'd be looking at targets towards, I guess you got 330, probably relatively faster for that, then 420, and then you got some big ones at, or around 600 essentially. So take those one step at a time, obviously. And then last, we'll finish off with Bitcoin. Again, I won't do like a full-on analysis for Bitcoin here. I just want to keep this one nice and short and sweet, as we do have the new monthly as well. And 5-day time frame, we do see it's actually basing off of the top side of the 61.8 level. Very, very interesting right there, because that is a pretty fucking aggressive move. I would also look at that as a bit of a short-term area of interest. Again, that's 95,000. If Bitcoin starts to break below there on a 5-day time frame closing basis, I would be looking for a deeper correction first to open up this month of December, and then continuation later, if that were to happen. Again, that's a big if. But looking at the monthly right here, the monthly, you can't really tell on this chart, but the monthly HPDR did actually close above. It actually did close above by a fucking ball sack hair, the median, which was about $200 delta between the two, I think. Or sorry, no, $20 delta between the two. So very, very minimal right there, but it did close above. So one thing that I'd be looking at when you see the monthly HPDR open like this, extremely likely we will see another test towards the median. But the median, price actually opened up below the median for December. So I suppose, that can be cause for concern. But I think that we'll at least get a test around 107. And the real question is, will that act as like a major rejection? Because that's where you would expect a major rejection. And then price, come back down maybe to close out December. I don't know. I really don't know in that case, but I'm inclined to say that the overall market continues at least until mid-January. So I'd be inclined to say that's probably not what's going to happen, and we probably open up on a slight pullback first. Maybe that's down to like $90,000 for Bitcoin, and then we do see that move up to 107, and then it probably reclaims 107, something like that. Also, we have a pretty obvious area of interest here as well. Look, any daily closure above Friday's high, 6 digits plus, just that's all that it needs to be. Friday's high is 98,700. I mean, that's not like a humongous call or anything like that, but at that point, very likely looking into the shallow 100s, probably 102, 103, relatively fast. And then from there, why not test the 107 region at least? First pass on the next test of the 107 region should be a pullback. So maybe that is where like a 10, 15, maybe even 20% correction comes from. But of course, it really depends where Bitcoin closes at the end of the month. If Bitcoin closes above there, I mean, this can get really fucking crazy into January, like really fucking crazy. But one thing before the next, we have a long month left to go, and we're literally not even through the first day. So that's probably a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. Hopefully this was in some way helpful. Again, last day or last 24 hours, or a little bit less than 24 hours, I guess, on the Black Friday sale, which is ending tomorrow with the code BLACK in all capitals. And then that's enough shilling for one day. All right, cool. That is where we'll end things for today. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of the best. It was a fun Q&A session, by the way, yesterday as well. Looking forward to doing the next one. Unfortunately, however, I don't think we're going to do a live stream this week because we will be traveling. Of course, we'll continue on, after this week. But yeah, maybe I'll do 2 weekly Q&As. We'll see. We'll see how much interest there is in the Discord. All right, cool. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Monday.